Hello, my friends. My name is Becca, and welcome to this 30-minute yin practice. For a yin practice, the body temperature isn't necessarily going to rise very much. So if you need anything, like here I have my yogi socks or a sweatshirt or a blanket to keep warm, please grab that. You may also want 2 yoga blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can use 2 stacks of books that are roughly equal in height. Okay, so go ahead and get those props. Feel free to pause the video and I will meet you back on your mat when you're ready to get started. So let's start off today in a comfortable seated position. We're going to do a little bit of grounding meditation to start practice today. If seated is not comfortable for you for any reason today, feel free to lie down on your back. Doesn't really matter. Wherever you are, let's take a deep breath in together and exhale out of the mouth. And let's do that 2 more times together, inhaling through 2 nostrils. Exhaling fully out of the mouth. Last time, inhaling and exhaling. Just letting the body settle down onto the mat and feeling the energy begin to settle down around you. Seeing if you can take the back seat to your mind, to your emotions, becoming the witness to whatever's going on right now. There's no need to change anything, to do anything, just observe. And as you inhale, notice anything that might be rising up in you. And as you exhale, anything that may be subsiding. And if there's nothing, just registering space. Becoming aware of that space where emotions come from and return to. And tuning into our inner landscape. Let's spend a few more moments here in this space. And as we begin to move, I want you to just be aware of this inner space within you and try to keep your focus there rather than jumping up into your head, into the thinking mind. So let's gently blink the eyes open if they were closed, and I will meet you in our first position today, which will be reclined swan. In more yang styles of practice, this is called pigeon pose. You may know it by that name. And today we're going to start with the left leg forward. So we'll start in a downward facing dog. And we'll bring the left knee between the hands and set the outer leg down, untucking the back toes. Now this might be enough for you today. If your hips are very open, you may begin to open the foot out to the side, just making sure that the hips stay square over the mat. If there's any pain in the knee, you can try flexing the pinky toe back towards you, or you may just bring the heel in closer to the body and bring the top of the foot down. So in this posture, we're trying to stress the right or the left piriformis muscle, the left glute area. Probably you will feel it there already. If you need a little bit more, you're always welcome to come down onto forearms, or you can take forearms onto a block. And then from here, we're just going to hold. So taking a moment to get comfortable in your position, and you want to be able to stay in the position for anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. In yin, we hold the postures for much longer because we're dealing with tissues that are more stiff, and so they don't open as quickly as, say, your muscles do. And then your work here is to remain relatively still in the posture. You're welcome to close the eyes and to go inward. In Yin, it's not so important that your alignment is perfect. So if you'd like to round the back, let the chin tuck, let the shoulders round, that's all perfectly fine. You can let the belly be soft. And if the mind begins to wander, just noticing that and coming back into the body. Coming back to the breath. For the last half of this posture, you're welcome to stay exactly as you are. If you like to go a little bit deeper, you can begin to walk the arms forward, up overhead, and then we'll thread the right arm underneath the left and take the left arm around the low back, reaching for the left big toe. The right arm can just extend out in front of the face, and the right ear can come down. If this becomes uncomfortable for your bottom arm, the right arm can go overhead. And you can even rest your ear on the arm like a pillow. If you can't grab your big toe, it's not a big deal at all. You can just drape your left arm over your low back. And what this is doing is increasing the amount of weight over your hips, so it's going to increase the stress in the hip joint. You may hear some background noises on my end. That's my very old heater doing its thing. Good. Let's take 2 more full breaths here. No rush at all. And as you're ready, we'll unwind our twist if you're twisted. Taking the left arm back overhead, right arm overhead. Slowly walking the hands in. And then we'll roll onto the left hip. And we'll sweep the right foot forward to meet the left in Baddha Konasana. Or in Yin, this is called butterfly. So a few options for butterfly. If your hips are very open, you may take heels into your groin and let the knees open wide. If the hips are not as open today, you can take your 2 blocks or stacks of books and place them underneath the knees on any setting to provide some extra support so the groin isn't as stressed. If your hips are extremely open, you might think about taking a block underneath the feet, and that's going to allow the knees to open even wider to increase the stress in the hip joint more. Some days I feel like I want a little bit more in my IT band than in my groin. So you can slide the feet away from you into more of a diamond shape, and this is going to put more stress on the outer line of the leg. So take whatever option feels right for you today, and just making sure that there's no pain. So there will be sensation, sometimes it's pretty intense, but we never want pain. So anything sharp, Stabbing, electric pain is a great sign that you've probably gone too deep, and you can come right back out and try to find your way back into the pose more safely. So I'm going to take a regular butterfly today, and I'm going to take one block in front of me so that I can rest my forehead on it. And then again, you can let the shoulders round, you can let the neck round, the back round, and the belly be soft. And then you want to find some stillness. So in my yoga classes that I teach, I usually cue the students to find an internal focal point. I find that it's helpful to have an anchor to return to so that the awareness doesn't just kind of flit around and jump into thinking. So for me, it's always helpful to find the spot in the body where you feel the breath the most, and that might change from posture to posture. So in this pose, for me, I feel it a lot in my back, especially when I'm folded forward. So you might just rest your awareness there, and for you, it could be a different spot. Sometimes the nostrils or the chest or heart area can be really good anchors. Or maybe it would be more helpful to count the breath. Inhaling and exhaling for 1, 2, 3, and then starting back over from 1. And if the mind wanders, which it will, it's totally normal, just noticing that and returning to your anchor. Over and over again, and that's the work. Maintaining our awareness in the present moment. Let's take 2 more breaths here. And when you're ready, if you're folded, we'll slowly walk the hands in, removing any blocks that you might have. And we're going to find deer. So I really like going into deer from things like butterfly and pigeon because it's internal rotation when we've done a lot of external rotation. So since we started on the left leg with pigeon, let's start on the left leg for deer. We're going to turn the left knee in. And then bring both, oh, this is juniper. We'll bring both feet in towards the body to start. And you want to make sure that the sitting bones can ground. And then from here, you might begin to walk the feet away from you, stopping at the point where you feel like that left sitting bone is going to lift off of the ground. You can turn the left toes out to the side as long as it's okay with the knee. And then from here, you can stay upright. You might fold forward. You might twist over towards the right or twist over towards the left. I find twisting towards the internally rotated knee increases the pressure over the internal left hip, which is going to create more of a sensation there. And that's what we're going for. So internal rotation, think the inside edge of the hip rather than the outside, which is the glute. So finding the position that's comfortable for you. And then again, totally fine if you want to close the eyes and let the head round down. You can let the spine round. Find your focal point for this posture. So when I talk about yin tissues, I'm talking about tissues that don't stretch as much. They have more yin qualities, which scientifically just means that they are more collagen dominant rather than elastin dominant. So things like your tendons, your ligaments are all yin tissues. So that's what we're trying to target in yin. And that's why the alignment doesn't matter so much, because when the alignment isn't perfect, we are getting more into the joint area. And that's where a lot of these thicker tissues reside. So as long as there's no pain, we're doing something very beneficial for those areas. But we have to be patient and let them open on their own time, because they're not just going to stretch out and rebound very quickly like a muscle would. Let's take another breath cycle here. And we'll slowly begin to release. If you're twisted, we'll untwist. Rolling onto the right side. And we're going to move right into reclined swan or pigeon pose on the other side. So rolling onto the right side, I'm going to keep my right knee and put it between my hands, and I'll just unbend my left knee and roll over the hips so that the hips are square to the mat once again. Again, you can keep the right heel in towards the body to start. You may want to pull the toes forward more if your hips are more open, as long as there's not this tendency to roll over onto the right side. Why? Really, it's just not going to target the areas that we're trying to target. So we'd like to keep the weight over the hips, over two square hips here. And then staying upright or beginning to walk the hands forward into the reclined version. Refocusing the awareness if it's wandered. Staying in the body. And then you can stay right where you are, or if you'd like to add the twist, you can walk the hands forward. And this time the left arm is going to thread underneath the right. And the right arm will sweep behind the low back, reaching for the right big toe. Again, does not have to grab the toe. You can put a block underneath this left ear to keep the head more elevated if that's more comfortable. And then here we are compressing the brachial plexus, which is a network of nerves in your chest. So it's possible that some numbness will develop in the left hand. If that happens for you, it's not a problem, especially for the short amount of time we'll hold this pose. But if it's distracting from your focus or it's really unpleasant, you can take the left arm overhead, and that's going to remove that compression. And then set the left ear back down. No pain in the knee. Again, if there's pain in the knee, you can bring the right foot in closer towards your groin and come more onto the top of the foot. And that's going to eliminate any kind of torque in the knee. And then we're going to hold here for another 2 breaths. And then slowly unwinding, taking both arms out in front, walking the hands in, rolling onto the right hip, and sweeping the left foot forward. So we're back in our butterfly pose. This time we're not going to hold this one. We're just going to go right into deer pose on the other side. So deep external rotation on the right hip, we'll move into right hip internal rotation. So picking up the right foot and knee, turning it inward, and then starting with the feet close in towards the body. This might be plenty for you. You can stay here. If you'd like a little more, we can begin to walk the feet out away from the hips. Again, looking for this right sitting bone to be close to grounded. And the reason why is because we really want to target the right groin. So if it starts to pick up, there's less weight on the hips, so there will be less stress in the target area. From here, again, any knee pain will keep the top of the foot down. If your knee's feeling okay, we can bring the inside of the foot down. And that's going to put the most stress on the right inner hip. And then you might begin to walk the hands forward or off to the left or towards the internally rotated knee, which is your right knee. That's my personal favorite. I feel the most sensation right in the pubic area on the right side. And then we'll find our focal point here and settle into stillness. Notice if the gaze is wandering. The mind goes where the eyes go. That's why in a lot of like Ashtanga-based classes, the drishti, the gaze point, is very important to keep the mind still, keep the eyes still. And in Yin, although it's less structured, the same theory applies. So if you're looking around the room, probably your gaze is, or your mind is going around the room with it. So you can softly gaze at one spot, or you might close the eyes down. Relax your face. And then take 3 more deep cycles of breath here. No rush. Unwind your twist if you're in one. We'll roll over to the left hip, just so we can take weight off the right hip and gently extend the legs forward. You can sit back on the hands and windshield wipe the knees side to side. And then pedal out the knees. Point and flex the toes. Preparing for Shavasana. So if you have extra layers of clothing, you can put those on now. And then settling down into your final resting position. Sometimes it can be nice to put 2 blocks underneath the knees, one under each, and that's going to take some stress out of the low back. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your low back, it just feels nice. And then go ahead, find your way onto your back. Let the spine melt down into the earth. Let the shoulders unfurl and the fingers uncurl. Imagine a drop of liquid sunlight, or liquid gold, like warm oil, dripping right in between the eyebrows. And as it seeps down over the forehead, over the face, melting all of the tension away. You can imagine this warm golden oil pouring down the neck, the sides, the front and back, the upper chest, upper back, and 2 shoulders, melting down. The upper arms, the lower arms, the hands, the heart space, soft. The belly, the mid-back, the low back, the pelvic bowl. The front of the hips. The back of the hips. The back of the thighs. The front of the thighs. The knees. The calves. The shins. Both ankles. The tops of the feet. The bottoms of the feet. And all 10 toes. This concludes our guided practice today, but please feel free to stay in Shavasana for as long as you would like or you need. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. I look forward to seeing you in future classes. Thanks again.